In reading the texts of the Old and New Testament, Johann Falkman makes connections with the world today. The ways in which we can look at ourselves in the mirror of a different time period to understand the one we're living in. A world where cruelty, injustices, and violence persist.
Biblical stories, the reason why they are interesting and the reason why I want to work with them is because they are reflections of ourselves. They were reflections of people several thousand years ago, and they still reflect us. Man hasn't changed. We're the same. The conflicts during the biblical times are the same today. So we are still exposed to ultra-violence. We still inflict ultra-violence on others. And that is what the world looks like. I mean, just take a look at the news. That is what we are constantly feeded with.
What is dignity? What dignifies us? This is the inquiry that frames the artist's work. Johann Falkman developed a proposal within the Star for Life initiative to launch the artistic imagination, but also to interpret stories of the past and the present that invite the community to reflect on the challenges that life imposes.
I was working together with Jennifer Clement down here when I first started the project, and we went around to the villages and we were scouting for models. And Jennifer's work is also about dignification, you know, how to elevate people. And as an artist, you don't always know what it is, what you have done or what you are doing. You have a feeling inside of yourself, and you're not sure what that is. And so I was thinking about what should we call this. I asked Jennifer, what is the title? And I said, what dignifies us? And that's what I felt that these stories are doing to people when you play these characters. You're forced to look inside. You're forced to become somebody. All the characters in the Bible are people who are searching. They are humiliated. They are exposed to the most horrible things you can imagine. They're spat upon. Very often they're prostitutes or whatever was at that time considered the worst you could be. And then they go from that and they become heroes. The journey of the hero is designed to dignify a person, to give you worth, to give you strength, to make you a worthy character. And so these characters that we are working with, they are also heroes. Very often it starts off with a tragic incident, and then there's a long journey that ends with, you know, the person being elevated. So it becomes a life journey to achieve your goal, to achieve your dream. And I think that very often that the biblical stories are also about that. Basically all of them, that's what it's about. It's to infuse dignity inside of people after having been allowed to realize your visions or your dreams. You can't walk away from the problems. You must deal with them. Like the biblical characters, for example, they're dealing with the problems they're confronted with. Nobody saves them from the problems. They save themselves from the problems. And I think it's a metaphor also for ourselves, taken to the most extreme. Because even though we're not necessarily killing each other, we are constantly confronting each other in various ways, in various degrees of how can you say, conflict. And so I believe that in that way these paintings are definitely applicable to society. They're political, they're absolutely political. I consider myself I'm a political painter. I'm a political artist, absolutely. I'm not a religious person. This is not a religious project. This is not a project that advocates any specific belief. It tells the story of life, of man. That's what it does. And I think that the Bible is an excellent book in the way that it helps us understand ourselves.
For Johann Falkman, the most representative figure of dignity is Jesus, a man who, after living through the greatest of sufferings, is born again in glory. Jesus Christ rises as the great symbol of humanity. He represents the journey of the hero that, after the fall, ascends with the highest nobleness.
It's the ultimate story of the hero's journey. Down as steep as you can sink into hell or the kingdom of death. And then when he is rising after death up to heaven, the glorification and sitting on the lap of God, reaching his true self, after the humiliation of being crucified and being tortured, etc., and spat upon, then becoming the Son of God that he knows inside that he is. And I think that is the ultimate story of man and women, men and women. That's us. And that is why I'm using, for example, Sabello here as Christ. I've written a monologue for him where he confronts us directly with different aspects of our personality in the shape of Christ, And that is an example of how I develop these different characters, but based upon our inside yearning for dignification,
You want to interrogate me? About what? I am prepared to die rather than give up myself. Here is my tongue. Cut it out. Here are my eyes. Let the birds have them. Take my hands. Take my feet. Cut them off. I will have them back. I'm not afraid of your hatred. It is my lot in life to be hated. Humiliation is my destiny. So, I will gladly die to for once in my life become free.
South Africa has been a country of tensions, a country broken apart, victim of conquest that built their power through racial segregation. The country of apartheid, narrated in the novels of two Nobel Prize winners, John Maxwell Coetzee and Nadine Gordimer. This regime lasted until the 1990s and formally ended with Nelson Mandela's election to the presidency in 1994. In his inaugural address, he called his people to awaken. The time for healing of the wounds has come. The moment to bridge the chasms that divide us has come. The time to build is upon us. We have triumphed in the effort to implant hope in the breasts of the millions of our people. We enter into a covenant that we shall build a society in which all South Africans, both black and white, will be able to walk tall, without any fear in their hearts, assured of their inalienable right to human dignity, a rainbow nation at peace with itself and the world.
Nelson Mandela is one of the biggest icons we have in our time. And we have the privilege of meeting him. Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful tool to change the world. And that's true, because education is such a powerful way to working with the young generation. So we met him. He was very much appreciative of what we were doing in Star for Life. So we think what we have done is part of his bigger thinking, because without him, we would probably have a civil war here in South Africa. And he saw the need for education and so on. So he is inspiration.
Imprisoned for 27 years and sentenced to death, Nelson Mandela spent 2 decades confined in a cell in the Robben Island maximum security prison, close to Cape Town. Once freed, an elected leader of the nation, Madiba opted against revenge and for reconciliation as the only way to build a free society. Let there be justice for all. Let there be peace for all. Let there be work, bread, water, and salt for all. Let each know that for each, the body, the mind, and the soul have been freed to fulfill themselves. Never, never, and never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another and suffer the indignity of being the skunk of the world. Let freedom reign.
He was preaching reconciliation between the whites and the black, tolerance. And I think we need more tolerance in the world today. And he walked that road. Not revenge and fighting and so on. Too much of that in the world today. The big walls to separate people. I mean, we should connect with the people, have tolerance, educate the young generation, live a healthy life. That's a much better road. His book, his famous book, the heading is The Long Road to Freedom.
Yes.
And I was talking, the long, he was also working long term. He couldn't change that system in 1 year, but he could change it in a lifetime. And I think we as human, we need to work long term for the good causes, because then we could make a change. And the first time I met him, my impression was that this man, he's so strong, so no one could suppress him. I mean, you feel that when you talk to him. But he's also so charming and gentle with this big smile. So he charms everybody. So he has both sides, both the strong side and the charming side. And that was a big asset for him, being such a strong leader. And therefore, people listened to him, and they could trust his words. There is changes. I mean, we came here 2001, and there was a lot of big hope when Mandela took over and so on. But there are also a lot of traditions since hundreds of years. But I think South Africa is better off today because of this. But you could also feel some disappointment.
Free at last, Mandela would say, echoing Martin Luther King in his speech, I have a dream. The dream lives on. It is built day by day on this land, the Rainbow Nation and the land of 1,000 landscapes, where Bartolomé Diaz and Vasco da Gama landed in the 15th century, on the southwesternmost tip, towards the Atlantic, the Cape of Good Hope. South Africa, the land where civilization and jungle meet. The Lion's Empire.
You need to see something in the future, because what you're doing day to day is a continuous work, and that gets much more easier if you want to achieve something in your future, because what you do in a single day gets part of a bigger dream, and that helps us. So I think it's a general lesson for the human being.
Being a star for life is a deeply meaningful symbol in the land of the KwaZulu-Natal. Zulu means the sky. On the coat of arms of the tribe, we see the lion and the Nu flanking a star. The Zulus, according to their cosmovision, come from the sky. They are star beings.
Check, let's go. Yeah, when they do a pause, when they do a pause, when God to my mother, my joy was taken away. Who's gonna love me now? Who's gonna see me now? Yeah, when they do a pause, when they do a pause, when God to my mother, my joy was taken away. Who's gonna love me now? Who's gonna see me now? Go back, go found my soul. One tattoo, mama low. When they do a part, when they do a part, when God to my mother, my joy was taken away. Who's gonna love me now? Who's gonna see me now? Yeah.